Hey barbecue family, Kenyatta Robinson here. Welcome back to my Backyard SmokeMaster barbecue channel. Today I want to talk about my LSG 20 by 42 inch offset smoker. I've owned this smoker now for a little bit more than 3 years. Those of you who have been watching my channel over the years know that the arrival of this stick burner is what basically kicked off my channel. So many of those early videos was basically about my learning process. So even if you've been barbecuing on other grills like a pellet grill or a kettle grill, a Kamado, when you start off with a stick burner, there is definitely a learning curve. So many of my early videos, basically it was me showing my journey of trying to learn how to, cook good food on my stick burner. So today I want to share with you some of the processes that I have now with my LSG. A lot of things that I did back then, I do completely differently now. And I'm not just talking about the cooking process, I'm also talking about, how I clean the stick burner, how I get it ready for cooks. So I'm going to try to touch on most of those major concepts. And, these are just things that are working for me. It's not necessarily the best way to use a stick burner or the only way to use a stick burner. One of the great things about barbecue is, you can try so many different things. There are a million ways to get to the desired output of making great food. So I'm just sharing some of the things that I've learned work for me after 3 years of ownership. So hopefully by watching this, you'll be able to pick up on a few things that might help you if you already own a stick burner, or if you're thinking about buying one. It'll give you an idea of, what it's like to have one and what are the things that you most likely will find yourself doing once you do get that stick burner that you've been saving up for. All right, stick around. We're going to get into it right now. Let's start by talking about my process for keeping the exterior of my LSG clean. So when I got my stick burner 3 years ago, I was following the recommendation from Lone Star Grillz, and at that time they recommended that you mix 1 part cooking oil, like canola oil, with 2 parts water in a squirt bottle. Squirt that on the exterior surface and then wipe it clean with a rag. I followed that process for the first year, but I never thought that it worked especially well, and eventually I switched things up. I now use a food grade white mineral oil, and I find that works pretty good to keep my grill, in pretty good shape, considering that I do keep it outside all of the time. Now on that note, when I first bought my LSG, I also bought the cover that Lone Star Grillz sells. Now it's a really heavy duty, well-made cover. Pretty expensive. I want to say it's in the $150 range. I could be wrong about that, but it's not cheap. And it's very heavy duty, fits well, does what it's supposed to do. It keeps the elements, off of your stick burner when you're not using it. LSG's cover is so heavy duty, it takes quite a bit of maneuvering and a little bit of time to get that cover both on your stick burner as well as taking it off. And it got to the point where I just decided that I'm just going to go without the cover. I do cook on my stick burner quite often, and it was just becoming, too much of an ordeal taking it on and off. So now after 3 years, I go without the cover, and then probably about once every 3 months, I'll get to a point where I decide, you know, I need to clean up the exterior of this stick burner, and I'll break out that white mineral oil and apply a coat, rub it down real good to get it looking, you know, it's never gonna look the way it looked when it first arrived, but I think it does give it a nice sheen, and it looks pretty good once I get it all wiped down. Alright guys, next we're going to talk about how I clean out my firebox after a cook. So here's a look at what you might see after a cook. So basically, this is really not a difficult process at all. You just have to get in there. So typically what I do, my first move would be to just put on some gloves and pull out whatever I can with my hands. And then my next step, for stuff that's a little harder to get at, I just get like a little spatula, use that to scoop some stuff out. And when I really want to try to get it clean, then I'll get my ash vac out. I've tried a few different ash vacs over the years. This one by Snow Gel has lasted quite a while, but I think that the trick is to not to overdo it. So get out what you can with your hands, with a spatula, and then, you know, use the vacuum for whatever is left. If you don't tax it too much, it should last. Alright, so when I first got my LSG, it was before LSG started selling their own fire basket for charcoal and wood. Being a newbie, I thought it'd be a good idea to have a gas log assist. But you know, after time, I figured out and got better at my own fire management. And once I really got it down and felt comfortable, I realized that the gas log assist really wasn't necessary. Alright, next we're going to hit this firebox and everything that goes in it with some canola oil. I got a little bit of pan left. I know I'm going to run out of this, so I got another can here on the ready. This stuff isn't that expensive, so don't be shy about using it. It'll protect and make the life of your firebox last much longer than if you don't. Alright, so you do these simple steps after every cook, and then you'll be ready to go when it's time to do your next cook. Now there are many different ways you can go about cleaning out the inside of your cooking chamber, many different philosophies about how to handle the food grates. Some people think, hey, I'm not going to bother cleaning them at all. You know, all of that leftover oil and grease, you know, just adds to the seasoning of the grates, makes your food cook better. I'm sorry, makes your food taste better. While others believe, you know, they want to make sure that their grates are as sparkly clean and fresh looking as the day that they unbox them. I don't know that that's really practical when you're cooking on a stick burner. I think I fall somewhere in between, so I'm not really overly ambitious about trying to get my grates super clean, but I do want to make sure that there's not going to be any leftover residue when I cook that's going to influence the taste of the meat that I'm cooking that day. So typically what I'll do is I'll turn my water hose up on high and, you know, hit them with the water hose as best as I can to knock that residue off, let them dry, and then I will spray them with cooking oil. Now once every 6 months, I'll get my pressure washer and hit these grates with it to get them a little cleaner than what I can do with the water hose, but I don't do that too often. So now another thing to be cognizant of is the buildup that can form on the backside of the door to your cooking chamber. So what I'll do is get my little paint spatula here and just try to knock off as much of this as I can, because I'd rather it come off now than while I'm cooking. Get my shop vac or my Snow Joe, suck up all that stuff that came off here, and just like everything else, hit it with that cooking spray. Now another thing to do that you can do from time to time is also take this paint scraper, you know, and scrape the inside of the chamber as well. And then what I do after every cook is I do use my water hose again. I'll spray the inside of the cooking chamber. And down here, one of the things, the add-ons that I had was the ball valve right here. So when you fill your inside of your cooking chamber up with water, you just use this ball valve to open it up, and the water will shoot right on through. And then I have this little bucket that makes it easy to dispose of the water. So this is one of the add-ons that I still, if I had to do it all over again, I would definitely do this add-on, because it helps with the cleanup process inside of the cooking chamber. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and do a little bit of cleanup on the inside. And if I really wanted to get serious about it, again, I could take my pressure washer and, you know, really get a deep clean inside of that cooking chamber. And once again, cooking spray is your friend. So pretty much after everything that I do, the last thing I do is spray it all with the cooking oil. All right, barbecue family, so I ran out of daylight yesterday, but before I wrap things up, I did go ahead and spray all of the insides. So I sprayed the inside of the cooking chamber with cooking oil, as well as both of the food grates, and then I also sprayed the inside of the cooking chamber door. So basically got all of this sprayed, both grates, hit the inside, the side walls, as well as the very bottom. So that's pretty much the process for keeping it clean and getting it, keeping it seasoned and ready to cook. So actually now I'm going to start a fire and gonna do some Cornish hens today. So show you guys that process that I have now for getting a fire started. All right, so we're gonna get a fire going inside of the Firebox. I've already removed the griddle plate from the top. So we're gonna have everything open. We got the Firebox door open. We got the lid up on the top, that's gonna be open. The chamber door is open. Also need to make sure I open the chimney. Get that open. So basically when we started off, we want to get as much oxygen going inside of the Firebox as possible inside of this cooker. I'm gonna spray my fire basket one more time. Again, cooking oil inside of the Firebox is your friend. So I'm just gonna go ahead and spray all of this one more time. All right, so what I'm gonna do, I've got some lump charcoal. So we're just gonna layer the bottom of the fire basket with lump. Alright, so like I said earlier, I no longer use the gas log assist. What I like to do now is after I've put my lump charcoal in, I just use a couple of wax cubes. You can use whatever you like, to get your fire started. But I got one back there kind of towards the back of the basket. And then there's another one here at the front of the basket. So we're gonna get that lit. And then today I'm gonna cook with I got some hickory and I also have some maple. So I'm gonna cook with those splits today. So after I get this lit up, I'm gonna add a couple of splits, let them burn down to coals. That'll probably take 45 minutes to an hour. So always give yourself some time. Don't rush it, because you are looking for a nice clean burning smoke, to get started. That'll taste the best once you add your food to the cooking chamber. So let's get it started. Alright guys, so we got the smoker up to temperature. I'm about to put my Cornish hens onto the grate. So again, you're basically looking for a pretty clean looking smoke. I just added another split, but it looks pretty clear. So I think it looks pretty good. We're up to temperature, ready to get it going. Alright, so here we go guys. Gonna get these hens on. If you've watched my channel, you know I like to try different things. So I've got 2 different rubs that I'm going with. One rub is Grill Haze chicken poultry seasoning. And then the other one is Jeff's original rub, which is a little bit, I think, gonna be a little bit more of a spicy profile. So one other thing that's different from when I first started cooking on my stick burner, the LSG 20x42 comes with 2 grates. So in addition to the one here at the bottom, I could also have another grate up here at the top. And the top tends to cook hotter than the bottom, especially over on the left side. And when I first started cooking, I was always starting things off up here in the hottest part of the cooker and then working with it, making adjustments as needed, so on and so forth. But now my process is I actually prefer to take that upper grate out, and I like to just cook on the bottom. It allows me to, I think it just gives me a little bit more bandwidth in terms of my fire building. It allows me to create maybe a little bit larger and more forgiving fire inside of the Firebox. So maybe instead of just using one split, I'll use 2 splits. So in this case, I'm using hickory and maple, and I've got them, going simultaneously. I just find it to be a little bit easier to keep my temperature, in that smoking range that we want, which is basically like 225 to 275. Tends to like to live right around 250, I find. When I cook with poultry like I am today, I don't put water in the cooking chamber, but with just about everything else, I do like to add water. It helps with the cleanup, provides a heat sink, and I don't know. The cooker's made to hold water, so I like to use it, except with poultry, because I think not adding that humidity will help me get a crispier skin. All right, let me get this closed up. All right, guys, so that's basically my process after owning the LSG for 3 years. Still have absolutely no regrets about making this purchase. Once I really started taking barbecue seriously, I wanted to step up my own personal game to a stick burner. Did some research, was really comfortable and liked what I saw from Lone Star Grillz, so I went with their 20 by 42 inch, and I've been extremely happy with it. I still consider it, out of all of my other smokers and grills that I have, I still consider it to be the one that is the most rewarding to cook on. May not necessarily be the easiest to cook on, but I knew that going in and I was ready for the challenge. So hopefully this video helped you guys out. If you're still on the fence about getting a stick burner, or maybe you already have one, maybe you have the same model that I have, feel free to share your comments about what you do that's unique with your LSG or your stick burner. Love hearing from you guys. Once again, this is Kenyatta Robinson. If you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel. Hit that like button, it really helps me out. Take care. I'll see you in the next one.